Here it comes, coming straight toward us, is a missile launcher truck produced in 1957. According to advertisements from that time, its maximum firing range could reach 60 feet, which is about 18 meters. But today its launcher and its firing button have long since become immobile. Even the connector between the cab and trailer is missing and can only be replaced with a simple bend hook. Not to mention the rust covering the entire vehicle and the problems yet to be discovered. So in this episode, we will follow this restoration expert who was dismantling it. From rebuild MPs to restore this Cold War era Model 2600 produced by the American Nylint Company Steel Missile Launcher Truck to perfect condition. While removing the cab earlier, the two white objects that appeared were nothing special. They were simply foam packing pellets. What surprised me most was why they ended up there. Soon the cab section was fully dismantled. Next comes the trailer section, which is also the core of the entire toy. Because it carries a turret that can rotate 360 degrees and has a maximum elevation with a towering height of 47 centimeters. After removing the turret this time, we can see that its connection to the trailer is quite simple. It relies on a circular riveted structure. This 360-degree rotating ring is secured by deforming the metal parts, which makes disassembly somewhat difficult. After opening the launcher mount, you can find a lot of dirt and sand inside, and mixed in with it were some brown insect remains, which indicates that this dirt was not original, nor was it added for weight or balance. It was once the home of some creatures, and judging by these yellowish-brown dried mud, clump-like accumulations, along with the obvious holes, when all these factors are considered together, they closely match the remains of a mud dauber nest. Looking at it this way, this Cold War-era heavy defense vehicle has certainly been through quite a lot. As for the launcher that was just removed, although it still appears structurally intact, judging by the severity of the corrosion, it's probably no longer serviceable and will need to be replaced later. And the wheel assembly being dismantled here isn't looking much better either. The corrosion is quite severe as well. At this point, Rebuild Guy has successfully completed the full disassembly. As you can see, there are a lot of detailed parts in this teardown. In other words, this missile truck is far more complex than it looks. Next comes the restoration stage. First of all, the most satisfying blasting method will be used to strip paint and remove rust from the metal parts. And the blasting media used this time is steel grit. After the sandblasting was completed, you can see, inside the parts, there is still some rust remaining. That sandblasting could not remove, so a rust remover is needed. And after the chemical rust removal, to ensure a consistent surface texture, Rebuild Guy performed another round of sandblasting. Once it was confirmed that all rust had been removed, the next step was to repair the deformed areas of the metal parts through physical straightening. This means working from the backside, using a dolly or forming tool for support, while simultaneously lightly tapping the front to gradually return the metal to its original shape. Of course, there are also many areas that cannot be repaired using such a direct method to be fully restored by straightening alone. So, at this point, Rebuild Guy uses this cold weld compound to fill in these small imperfections. We're already quite familiar with cold weld compounds. Compared with ordinary fillers, they contain metal additives, which give them much greater strength, making them comparable to some low-strength metal joints. Therefore, once it has fully dried and cured, we can perform various machining operations on its surface. Next comes the powder coating stage. The first thing to be applied is this dark gray primer powder. Under the effect of static electricity, the powder evenly adheres to the surface of the parts, after which they can be baked at high temperature. Once the primer is applied, the next step is sanding the primer. This step not only smooths the paint surface, but also creates many fine scratches, which help improve the adhesion of the top coat. As for the color of the top coat, the primary color chosen by Rebuild Guy here is a blue-gray powder that is very close to the original color, while the launcher tube section will be finished in standard black. Next, Rebuild Guy needs to recreate the missing radar component from scratch, based on the shape shown in the advertisement images. Rebuild Guy plans to use this sheet metal directly for shaping by bending it into form and then adding a support bracket. So here we can only understand the limitations he faces. Of course, there would be a better solution, which would be stamping with a die. Next, this new radar, along with the wheel hubs, headlights, and other accessories, will all be coated with white finished powder. Next up is this plastic gear missing several teeth. To deal with this issue, Rebuild Guy will use a resin casting method for the repair. What is being applied here isn't resin, but rather hot glue. The material in the dual syringe is actually epoxy resin. The purpose of the hot glue is to isolate the intact gear teeth and create a dedicated casting area for the repair material. After the resin has fully cured, the hot glue can be removed and a rotary tool used to reshape the missing gear teeth. Finally, for the front and rear wheel axles, Rebuild Guy chose to remake them entirely. There's not much technical complexity here. Just find a steel rod of the right size, trim it to length, and straighten it up. Of course, for a better appearance, it also needs a polishing treatment. this axle as well. The cannon barrel pivot shaft has no major damage and only needs polishing before use. Next is this launcher spring. Just as mentioned at the beginning, it can no longer be used and has to be replaced. Another component that also requires replacement is this worm gear assembly used to adjust the elevation angle of the launcher tube. The worm gear design here is quite interesting, as it was made by winding a steel wire into shape. As for these four-wheel retainers, after sandblasting and cleaning, they will undergo hot bluing treatment. Hot bluing is a process that treats iron parts by heating them to 300 or 400 degrees and then immersing them in oil to form a dense protective oxide layer on the surface. Then, after polishing these two headlights, all the parts are finally ready for the final assembly stage. By the way, Rebuild Guy also made 3 cruise missiles of the correct size, along with a full set of decals for the vehicle's exterior markings. Moving on to the assembly stage, Rebuild Guy starts with the most difficult launcher section. We've seen quite a few military-themed toys like this on restoration channels before. If we turn back the clock to America in the 1950s, you'll find that kids back then weren't obsessed with cowboy toys. Instead, missiles, rockets, and cannons were the popular toys. The reason was actually quite simple. The world was in the midst of the Cold War at the time, and military topics were among the hottest subjects of that era. Toy companies quickly picked up on this social trend, and as a result, large numbers of war-themed toys began appearing. And this Nylint Model 2600 Missile Launcher Truck that we're restoring is also a product of that era. And if you look closely, you'll notice that the truck doors carry Navy defense markings, which perfectly match the historical setting, because this truck was designed to represent the coastal missile defense forces of the United States during the early years of the Cold War. Now with the wheels installed, at this point, the launcher trailer carrying its giant cannon is fully assembled. Next comes the truck section. Here, Rebuild Guy has also found the missing hitch chain. Whether it's the chain, the headlights, or many other vehicle components, they are all secured with rivets like these. As for this radar support, some rubber tubing has been added here. The purpose is to use this tough flexible material to provide support and damping for the radar. After installing the wheels and headlights, the front and rear sections of the vehicle can be connected using the hitch chain. Finally, the corresponding decals are applied, and this mobile steel missile launcher truck, manufactured in 1957 by the American Nylint Company, is officially restored. Let's take a look at the before and after comparison of the restoration. Same as always, give it a score before watching. What score from 1 to 10 would you give this restoration? After cocking the launcher and loading a missile, it is ready to fire. The firing distance reached 28 feet, about 8.5 meters, which is still quite a bit short of the advertised 60-foot range. That wraps up today's restoration video. Thanks everyone for watching. Wishing you happiness and prosperity. See you next time. Bye-bye. Once again, thank you all for coming to Max's Restoration World. Bye-bye.